Good afternoon and welcome to the February edition of CDW's ServiceNow Live Education Workshop Series, where we help you learn how to get more out of ServiceNow. I'm Kim Johnson. I'm with the CDW Solutions and Services Marketing team. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention a few quick housekeeping items. We will save time for Q&A, so if you have questions, please drop those into the chat throughout the presentation. We'll talk through those at the end. And after the webinar, you'll be prompted to complete a short survey. It's going to open automatically in your browser. If you wouldn't mind just telling us how we're doing, we'd appreciate it. And now, without further ado, CDW's own Rahimulah. Rahimi, take it away.
Thank you, Kim. Welcome, everyone. This presentation is about CDW, Forescout, and ServiceNow, Power of Three. Quick overview of the agenda. I'm going to do some quick introductions. Talk about CDW ServiceNow practice, overall summary, what it is, and also our advantage, which is the CDW approach. We'll talk about Forescout with our buddy Shawn here, and then cover the automation of the workflows that you take advantage of when you have Forescout and ServiceNow. And then we'll talk about ServiceNow, SecOps products and tools, and just a short, quick overview of that. And then obviously some Q&A. But do feel free to ask any questions through the process. If we can cover them, we will. And if not, we will put them in a parking lot and ask and cover them a little bit later at that point. Quick background about myself. I've been in Silicon Valley for quite a long time, probably longer than I want to admit. But I've worked at a variety of companies from like Cisco, VMware, ArcSight, at ServiceNow as well. Worked on a variety of stuff from risk assessments to VPN infrastructure design, data center work, IT real estate, down to cabling, patch management, going into data centers and working on cables and things like that. So been through a variety of stuff in the space and continue to find love working through all this technology and stuff that's going on. So.
And me, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm coming to you from the great country of Brazil today, here with our Latin American customers and partners. So Shawn Taylor, I'm a field technology officer with Forescout. Been with Forescout going on 9 years, 9 of the, give or take, 26 years or so in the technology space. Very well versed in operations and service management. And sort of function right now, one of my side jobs, if you will, is really sort of serving as a subject matter expert for all things ServiceNow at Forescout. So look forward to the conversation with Rahimulah today.
Thanks, Shawn. Great introduction. As part of that, just wanted to ask a quick intro question. Do we have that in the WebEx by any chance? Or?
Yes, here we go. You should see an active poll pop up.
As people are answering, what we're trying to just figure out is like really where the audience is in terms of, are they using Forescout? Are you familiar, or do you have ServiceNow also deployed in the environment? And probably the more critical part of it is like, is it even integrated? Did you know it could be integrated? Are you familiar with the integration? How much of it, or just kind of thinking about that, like, yeah, we do have some connectivity into it. Yeah, we're leveraging it in some way, shape, or form. And so.
Okay, it looks like most people are done voting, and we got 11% yes, 74% no, and 16% not sure.
Oh, okay. Sounds like in line with what I was kind of expecting. So I just wanted to talk briefly about CDW, ServiceNow's practice. Fundamentally, one of the coolest things about our practice is that we're actually a customer. We've been a customer at the same time that we've been a large reseller and also a large implementer. We obviously have the elite partner status, but really, I think the biggest part is just being a massive customer that utilizes day in and day out the capabilities, which is reflected in our CSAT averages. I think it's a little bit higher than what's listed here, but fundamentally just having that advantage of being CDW, where we're already selling services and products and capabilities to customers on a variety of other technology, tools, and products that gives us that trusted advisor type of relationship, then pivots over to, okay, well, here's some other capabilities that you may be interested in ServiceNow. Here's how we can solve some of these business problems that you're looking at, right? So a great way to think about it is really, if you look at the approach, it's really, it's not just like, here's a platform that's going to solve your problems. It's really about, okay, working with the people that we already have in place. What are some of the processes that you guys are using, and what is the fundamental business challenges that you're trying to solve, right? And then being able to apply organizational change, figuring out ways to meet the digital transformation needs that are happening across sectors. And then using that to really say, okay, if this is the plan, this is where you want to get to, let's build out a growth and maturity model and building out a continuous improvement program that'll get you to the next level continuously. So it's not just, a one-time deal and you're done. It's really about, continuing to grow your business out and making sure you take full advantages of your capabilities. So another quick poll question, just so I can get a sense, want to get a sense of the CMDB. I again, kind of have a rough idea of where we're at, but sometimes it helps if we have some surprise data. How confident are you in the accuracy of your CMDB? You're very confident no matter what you get. You're like, oh yeah, this is definitely guaranteed to be correct. You're kind of sort of in there, so you trust, but you verify kind of deal where you're making sure it makes sense. And then obviously the tougher situation where you're not really sure if what it's telling you is right. And then at the same time, if any of the stuff related to it has any type of automation in place, are you leveraging any workflows when you encounter any of those case scenarios?
So the reason this question was brought up was it is foundational, right? If you don't have an accurately populated CMDB or completely populated CMDB, really your ability to drive automation, to drive efficiency from a SecOps perspective, obviously is minimized, right? So the needs to ensure that you do have an accurate representation in your CMDB of what is currently in production today is paramount.
And you see those results there. We have 63% said kind of confident, 16% said very, and 21% not at all.
All right, I want to call out the people who said very. I don't know about you. I want to put the spotlight on them.
All right, let's Shawn.
Yes, sir. Very good. So look, I'm not sure how much people know about what Forescout is, who we are. Been around for 25 years. Our founding was originally really in the network access control space. But as the technology has evolved, our platform has evolved. We are absolutely a foundational, fundamental enterprise visibility platform across the entirety of a computing landscape, whether it is IT devices, whether it is in the healthcare life sciences space, in the IoMT space, it's operational technology or industrial Internet of Things, or even just IoT from a corporate perspective, right? So it is foundationally and fundamentally understanding continuously every device that's on the network. And then not just understanding what those devices are, but Rahimulah, if you can click next for me, it's understanding the device, the contextual awareness of the device, the user, where the device is on the network, the posture, the compliance, the vulnerabilities, right? Ensuring that data is up in the CMDB, again, continuously, and then integrating that with vulnerabilities, with risks, with threats that then go back into ServiceNow to say, look, here are vulnerabilities, here are risks, here are threats that someone needs to take action against, where we leverage the runbooks inside of ServiceNow to manage that process, right? That ultimately would then drive potentially to a device isolation, a device segmentation, remediation of the device via some patching mechanism, or even mitigation of the risk via some other type of a control, right? That ultimately Forescout would enforce for the customer, right? So we bookend it. We bookend the process. The beginning of the process where we understand the devices themselves, where they exist on the network, the context. We hand off to ServiceNow. to automate the management and the workflow of that process. And then when there is an action or a set of actions that need to be performed against that device to minimize the risk, mitigate the risk, whatever those actions are, Forescout's the recipient of that from ServiceNow, and we ultimately take that action. Now we talk a little bit more detail around security operations, right? So Forescout, again, is understanding the device, understanding the context of the device, the threats, the vulnerabilities, the risk that device is facing, right? We are able to prioritize that and share that data into ServiceNow throughout the security operations workflow, where you're now integrating inside of ServiceNow through the platform, that platform's out-of-the-box capabilities, utilizing things like MITRE ATT&CK, other cyber threat intelligence sources, right, to be able to correlate the threats and the intelligence. Ultimately, from a runbook perspective, that drives an action. Again, it's going through the workflow process inside of ServiceNow. And then when the next step there, an incident, a problem, there's a change request, right? When it comes to the actually driving into that remediation from a SOAR perspective, it's a handoff to, again, back to Forescout, and then next, where there's a review back down into via ServiceNow for post-incident, post-mortem types of processes and analysis of key performance indicators, those types of things, right? Again, throughout the entirety of that process, whether it's focused on a minor security incident or it's something that is more of a larger outbreak, the ability to understand soup to nuts, beginning to end of the devices, the risks, the threats, the vulnerabilities that are occurring, and then ultimately drive through that automated workflow process in ServiceNow, where the handoff then comes back to Forescout for that isolation, the remediation as needed.
Great.
Third poll is now live.
And I think we probably know the answer to this, right? Based on the first one.
Oh yeah, that kind of would make sense, right? So
yeah,
We're
this
90%, 92% no.
yeah.
I think you got your answer.
Yes, I believe you're right, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Shawn. Appreciate it. So just a quick overview of the security stack at ServiceNow. What are the key parts is really being able to ingest and centralize, right? So that's the theme consistently, right? Like pulling data from valuable sources and tools and combining them to make intelligent decisions and drive automation. So here's some common ones, right? Like you got your detection tools, vulnerability, your SIM tools, you have your data enrichment stuff like threat intelligence, things like that. And what you're doing is you're driving it all into the ServiceNow platform so that you can leverage some of the key stuff. We talked about CMDB. I think everybody is very familiar with it, right? But the reason why is because then you're able to leverage some of the heavy machinery inside of the ServiceNow platform, which is like the workflows, the automation, an ability to connect into IT capabilities and tools. It says like post-incident review, but fundamentally the way I really think about that is the reports and the dashboards capabilities that come out, right? So since you get everything centralized, you're able to really start building some type of metrics, some visibility into what's going on. And then you start this whole process of improvement, right? Driving maturity in your infrastructure. Taking actions around all of this is really key, right? So whether it's, like Shawn said, you can quarantine, you can block, you can define certain stuff. There's a variety of capabilities that you can take advantage of once you have great data and you have context in terms of what's going on in your environment. Well, another workflow, like when Shawn was talking about the SOAR component of it. So like once you have identified certain things that's going on, so you've ingested your data, a great example would be like, let's say from Forescout, right? So you have that information coming in and you then enrich it with some additional information that you may have, including obviously the CMDB. Here, you're able to then, using your business prioritization, what's important to you guys, what impacts you the most, then you are able to apply some of the automation. And some of the key parts here is really like, how do you assign it? How do you figure out when it needs to get resolved, and then being able to take action against those things. Excuse me. From there, you're able to actually take action, get it resolved. And I think the key part that again, I want to reiterate is the being able to analyze, being able to get reports, get some dashboards, get some metrics around that. And the reason behind that is then you can actually start building a maturity plan against it, right? Once you start knowing, okay, here's where the gaps are, here's where we need to go, here's where we're falling short, and this is what we need to look at. Another way to think about it is really, again, like trying to drive this home, right? So it's like triage and prioritize, but how do you do that unless you, again, have these key external tools coming in, providing you context, providing you information to figure out what's going on, and then applying that automation capabilities to orchestrate between the different tools and processes to get your work done. There was a mention of MITRE ATT&CK in terms of using it as a framework, but fundamentally there's NIST is also leveraged to help out. There's various other tools inside of SIR that can help, like major security incident management to help out with larger incidents that coordinate between different teams. So like, for example, like, the legal team, HR, and some of the other stuff. But fundamentally, it's about orchestration using a variety of data that's coming in. And bears repeating, in order to mature, you want to be able to have data information coming in from a variety of tools that you're leveraging for your particular environment. Vulnerability response is the other tool that's specific to more of the vulnerability management programs and initiatives that you're running. So again, key parts here are really integrate with your tools, grab the information that you have. A great example is obviously using like Forescout, leveraging that information, then applying your business needs, what you're familiar with, what you understand impacts your business, to prioritize and figure out what needs to get approached first. That way you are having some type of risk context applied to what you're prioritizing, right? This will help you figure out how big your attack surface actually is, what do you need to protect, and better fix your security posture. In terms of the automation, obviously, once you have some of that key information coming in and you've figured out, okay, this particular asset, this is the impact to it, here's how we prioritize which one we want to go after. A great example that I like to use is if you had say, a simple web server, you find a vulnerability, there's like 2 of them, but you can only patch one of them. How do you prioritize? One of them is a customer-facing web application. The other one has your cafeteria menu, right? So from a vulnerability perspective, it is the same impact, it is the same vulnerability, but in terms of business impact or criticality, obviously the customer one has a higher priority, and that's how you would focus on it. Closing out that whole point is, once you have resolved the particular vulnerability, again, you want to close that loop, updating whatever tools and processes that might need to be aware of, like, hey, you know what, we did resolve this, here's how it goes, here's how we did it. And then from there, it's not in this particular workflow, but it bears repeating. Huge fan of the dashboards and reports to help drive maturity. So if we look through here, as we spoke about, right, like, know your security posture. In order to do that, heavily leverage your existing tools, and then from there, work with the CMDB team, figuring out how your assets, your CIs are looking. Just because, like some of you said, it's not very great in terms of where your CMDB data is at, but that's not something that should stop you, right? So that should let you know, okay, we need to figure out a way to apply some kind of processes around that, and you can't do it blindly. So that's where tools like this really help, right? You see that, hey, you know what, we're seeing a bunch of assets with X vulnerability, but we don't know who the owners are. Okay, well, let's sync up with the CMDB team. Let's sync up with our remediation teams and build some kind of process that lets us start nibbling away at this and making sure that we can respond and effectively remediate some of these issues. And again, with with tools that provide you context, leveraging your existing tools through reports and dashboards, you're able to drive that, again, that maturity and growth and improve your security posture as a whole. And that was the main points that I wanted to cover. So just Q&A. Kim, do we have any questions on the line?
We did get one. Shawn answered it in the chat, but Shawn, do you want to talk through that question and your response while we wait for others to come in?
The question from Juan was, I see Forescout can isolate a device. If a vulnerability is identified, will Forescout stop, cut off that device from the network to prevent possible spread? The short answer is yes, absolutely, right? That is a core capability. I went on to add that we can not only isolate the device or devices, but we do it based on a number of variables. An understanding of vulnerabilities, misconfiguration of those devices. And we've got a very robust set of control enforcement mechanisms by which we can provide that enforcement, right? It could be as draconian as performing a shut on the switchboard, which literally disconnects the device, right? We can perform a VLAN steering, right? Especially in the case that vulnerability response workflow that Rahimulah just had up, right? That's a perfect example where, you know what, you don't necessarily want to pick the device off the network, but you want to put it into a place on the network that could still access the patching servers, those kinds of things, right? You need to be able to mitigate the risk if that determination is made throughout the VR workflow, but you want to provide that VLAN steering. So a number of ways that we're able to take action on that.
It's a good question. Good question. Anything else?
Yeah, there's a couple more.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are the biggest challenges for integration? How about we tag team that one? I'll take a stab and then you come in over the top. I think one of the things, and Rahimulah started kind of touched on it, right? I think one of the biggest challenges that customers face, and ServiceNow is an enterprise platform, right? It is robust. There's a lot there. When you start to talk about the CMDB and that sort of underpinning those processes, it can be overwhelming, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things is sort of getting yourself into a analysis paralysis type of a situation, because it's like, where do I start, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of the ways I usually try to describe it is like, if you're just going to a Home Depot and you say, I'm going to build a house, and you have like no plans, you have no guidance, you have no architecture to go with. So you can do it, but without any real plans in terms of what your goal is. Like, is your goal a 2-bedroom? Is it a 3-bedroom? Is it a like a 2-story, 1-story? What are you trying to do? And then from there, start building out. So I think I had a slide. Let me go back to it. I think this slide kind of represents it, right? Yes, the platform is incredibly robust, but at the same time, we want to make sure that the people and the process is really covered, because that's what will drive what we recommend and how we recommend approaching it, right? So in terms of like the tools that are out there, there's an app store. So there's already pre-built APIs. A pre-built tool. It's already out there. You download it, you configure it. That's not the issue. The issue is, what are you configuring? Why are you configuring it? What's the business case that you're covering? How does it help with your existing processes so that you guys can, achieve business success? So.
There are a couple more. Juan made another question. What makes Forescout different than other tools such as Qualys? So Qualys is a vulnerability scanner, right? So Qualys has agent or agentless, credentialed or credentialed-less scanning, and it literally scans and tries to identify vulnerabilities in the network, right? Then the question becomes, okay, once you've discovered those vulnerabilities, what do you do with them, right? How do the existence of the vulnerabilities? So the way that I would like to look at it is, we first need to understand the devices that exist, right? We leverage a variety of ways. We Forescout a variety of ways to identify the device on the network. the device, user context, network context, posture, compliance, vulnerabilities ourselves, all of those types of things. Getting those devices up into ServiceNow, Qualys could be in that exact same environment, and can either be integrated into Forescout or integrated into ServiceNow, or both. And you then correlate, right? I've got devices and I've got vulnerabilities, and you marry them up, and now you have essentially the inputs for that VR workflow that Rahimulah walked through, right? So it's a complementary. It's not an either or kind of a thing. The next one, and I think this is yours to take us home, Rahimulah, is how does CDW facilitating this integration bring value to the customer?
So I think like this slide probably covers it pretty well, right? It's really going back and figuring out, okay, well, what's the goal, right? What's the architecture? It shouldn't be, hey, I need to deploy ServiceNow SecOps, right? It should be, I have a need to automate. I have a need to, better integrate with my CMDB. I have a need to resolve incidents faster. I have a need to drive security maturity. So we do have a systematic, proven implementation methodology that we leverage that helps us drive, through a variety of tasks, like drive awareness and also making sure we extrapolate the business needs and what's critical for the customer, and then guide them through that process as we start deploying some ServiceNow capabilities. So in general, it's more of what business case are we solving, then guiding you through how we get it solved, and then actually deploying it out. So that's the best way I can kind of phrase it. I hope that kind of covered it.
Yep, good.
And
that was our last Q&A question. Unless somebody drops one in while I'm wrapping up, we are going to just end a little earlier today than normal, but that's awesome. I appreciate everybody staying. Everybody that joined has been here the whole time, which is great to see. If you did enjoy today's presentation, again, a survey is going to pop up in your browser as soon as the webinar ends. If you wouldn't mind filling out, it's just like 5 questions. We'd really appreciate your time. Thank you to both of our hosts today. We really appreciate your time as well. And any last words?
Feel free to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously. So, yep.
Yeah, ditto. Certainly happy to have a conversation, whether it's about Forescout or not, ServiceNow, yeah, bring it.
There will be questions on the survey if you'd like to receive a copy of the presentation from today or a copy of the recording as well. So you can indicate that, and I'll get that over to you later today. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, guys.